Welcome everybody to Core Office Hours, Thriving in UX in the Enterprise, number 32. We have done 32 of these over the last year. Bienvenido, ni hao, yo. I don't know how to speak emoji, but there's an emoji there of hello. Our mission to empower creative leaders to transform global businesses through design, designing the future together. We are global, everywhere, especially in Latin America and the Philippines, my favorite places in the world. I think Chris Doe's in the Philippines right now. The agenda for today, we're gonna drop in. It's gonna take about 15 minutes. It's about a 30-second timer on your drop-in. Maybe a minute. Core Q&A, which is today related to thriving in UX. And we have two very special guests who are going to be answering questions and their experience in the user experience world. In terms of introduction, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. We have Lorraine Molina, who's a UX UI designer with lots and lots of experience, and probably one of the best combinations of training, Art Center and CalArts together, which is super interesting. And then Xavior, who's a longtime community member and is a executive level UX person in the world of the enterprise. So really happy to have you guys here. Welcome. And of course, the regular cast of characters. We have our special guest, another special guest, Eric Cruz, longtime friend and probably one of my favorite creative directors in advertising. I don't have many, Eric, so you're just going to take that spot. Here we go. Let's do the drop-in. My name, my location. I'm Jose Caballer. I am in downtown Los Angeles. What do? I build. I build because I am, and I am because I build. I wrote that the other day. I build everything from communities to ideas to Burning Man camps, just building stuff. But I am a UX designer and a UI designer, and I'm not. One of my favorite childhood TV shows was the A-Team, because it was a team in a van. The van was critical and really cool. And they were all such different personalities, and they still did their stuff. All the personalities actually worked for what that was needed. It's like the hero's journey or Star Wars. You have like the characters you need. My favorite character was Murdoch, because he was bat shit crazy, but sometimes you doubted whether he was actually crazy or just plain crazy, because he seemed pretty sane with the solutions to the problems. I'm like, is this guy crazy, or is this guy actually the one sane guy who's actually seeing the situation for what it is? Love Murdoch. That's the reason. So I'm gonna pass it on. I'm just gonna feel it here. I'm gonna pass it to Xavior.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Xavier Bringas. Right now I am in beautiful Oahu, taking a little R&R. What do? I help build relationships with my peers, so my teams have the environment where they can be successful and meet the desired outcomes, whichever they may be, for the enterprise. And you'll hear a little bit more as we go through, but it is all about relationships and connective, meaningful relationships with your peers. That leads to success in an enterprise. Favorite childhood TV shows. It's not a TV show, but I've watched it like 1,000 times, and my wife gets mad because I say the lines, and that's Red Dawn, the original one. That was probably that and Breakfast Club were my two favorite shows as a kid. One favorite character. I guess Optimus Prime. For a lot of the qualities that he instills, that is what we leaders want to achieve in our lives, and he looks out for everybody else, and he makes sure everybody else is okay. and he brings people along, and he puts himself out there. So he sacrifices himself a lot of times for the greater good of the people that are following him. And I use the word following him because he's just not a leader in title. People want to follow him. They want to be around him. And I think those are qualities that most leaders strive to have in their lifetime.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Pick someone. Pick someone.
Daniel.
Oh, wow.
And
Hey,
30 seconds in one sequence.
Yep. Too easy. Yeah, so I'm from Los Angeles. I like to think that I help business leaders be more forward-thinking using creativity designed through brand. So that's what I do. Favorite childhood TV show? You stole my thunder, Jose. I was a big A-Team guy as well. Howling Mad Murdoch was also amazing, and I loved it when a plan came together. So all of that. And then favorite character, The Lebowski, I think is probably one of my favorite. There was a period where I just believed that was a modern day Zen Bible. So there it is. And he is a pillar of Zen.
Pick someone.
Who do we have? Todd.
Hey. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
So I'm Todd. I think I'm a builder, creator, navigator. I too like building things, whether it's products or content, film, video, businesses, all of the above, and kind of all the things that go into that. And I think I'm a navigator too.
And pickles, don't forget pickles.
And I'm a pickler. I go grab them from the refrigerator, right? And I was.
No. You have 30 seconds. You got 20 now.
Yeah, so I'm a pickler too. Okay, and I'm a Star Trek guy, or was a Star Trek guy growing up, and maybe oddly, I think my favorite character, at least if we're gonna go from Star Trek, was yes, kimchi, was Scotty. I liked how Scotty, expressed himself, but then, always went and got the job done. So,
yeah.
And I have to pick some. And
I love that one. Yep.
I'll pick Pat.
Thanks, Todd. I'm Patricia from Manila, Philippines. Right now I'm project coordinator. And basically what I do is I help creatives collaborate. And I want to help with like building, similar to Xavier, is like building and having connections and relationships. So one of my favorite childhood TV, I'm kind of shy to say it, but it's Lizzie McGuire because I'm from the 90s, and it's Hilary Duff. I just love her because I feel like that show really shaped when I see her, the people around her, her family, her friends, like no matter what she kind of navigates through, she always comes back to what her values are. And I don't know, and I find it super fun. So that's it. I'm complete. I will pick gender.
Thanks, Patricia. Hi, everyone. I'm Jinder, and I'm based in London, and I'm a UX designer. But obviously, like, I love science fiction, so Star Trek is up there. As a kid, there was a program called Play School. Now, when I grew up, I only taught my mother tongue, Punjabi. So Play School was kind of like mime, playing, and letting your imagination go. and Viola Benjamin. She did, she's just an amazing presenter on that show. So that's the character I pick. And I was just reading her biography. She's done like, she's part of the future because she does like marathons, she's done businesses, she's been a producer, she's written children's book, and the list is endless. So she's amazing. And whenever she's on TV, she just brings a smile on everyone's face. So yeah, I pick Daniel.
Oh, I've already gone, so I'll pass it over to Alejandro.
Guys, my name is Alejandro. I'm a brand designer from Costa Rica. So the TV show that comes to my mind is the Flintstones. I don't know, I think it's just pretty much outside of the box. And the thing that what I like about it is just the creativity that they have of, you know, mixing a very prehistoric era with, you know, kind of the modern life at that point. So I think that the result is something pretty creative, pretty unique. I don't have a character pretty much because I don't identify with any of them, but yeah, that's kind of it. Nice to see you guys.
But who did you like just in general? Like
just Peter. Peter. The thing is, I have the names in Spanish. So Pedro.
Oh, okay, Pedro. Okay, got it. So basically, it was the friend of Fred. Fred's
exactly.
Best friend. Yeah, because he was little and he was such a loyal like side, you know, guy. He was one of the greatest side guys of history. Yeah.
Yes, that is true. Thank you.
Pick someone.
What about Roberto? Did he go already?
Not yet.
Hello, my name is Roberto Puente. I am from Venezuela but live in Barcelona. I help content creators to monetize. They can be creating courses, community, or whatever they want to create. I do the marketing part. And my favorite character, reflecting on this, I don't have a favorite show, but my favorite character is always like the funny, goofy guy that is very strong, like Goku in Dragon Ball Z or in Avatar and or something like that. I always like when he's really funny, but he's strong as well. So yeah, Iona, what about you?
Thank you, Roberto. Hi, I'm Ioana Balcan from Brașov, Romania. We act as a catalyst for businesses, especially SaaS and educational. If you take those personality tests, the design one says I'm a visionary, another one says I'm a maker, and one of them says I'm a bit neurotic.
And all those things are true, and all those things are not true.
Probably, exactly.
Yes, you are and you're not.
Yeah, and recently we've been working for some weird circumstances more with Web3, and I'm really liking also building knowledge products. And I'm the face of 4 people because we brought Mauricio Cardona into Co-Cat team. And I am stuck between 2 characters because we always go back to MASH, you know, the Army TV series, and I like some aspects of Piers and some aspects of Radar. So for Radar, he always knows what people need and gets it for them. Like he's almost clairvoyant, meaning he hears the choppers before they come or whatever, who's in command. He already knows their needs. And with Hawkeye, I liked he has this huge kindness, and he sees no power in money, meaning he gives them away as soon as he makes them. And the mischievous side of everyone, I like him there. Very strong and well built out characters, plus a lot of humanity in there. Yeah. And I would like to pick Lorraine next.
Hello, everyone. This is really fun. I think this is the first office hours I've done, which is kind of sad. I should be more involved. So I'm Lorraine, and let's see, I kind of straddle between art and design, and my design life currently is in the UI UX space. I've been in Web3 for the past year. Currently working on a wallet, a crypto wallet, which is really fun. I have to say the Web3 space is very, very exciting. But I've worked for really small startups all the way to big tech. So my journey in design has been rather lively. Let's see, what was the other question? TV show?
Favorite TV show when you were a child, and what character did you resonate with and why?
Okay. I wasn't allowed, well, myself and my brothers and sisters, we were not allowed to watch TV. My dad would lock the TV in the closet. We would always try to pick the lock, but we could never open it. But Saturday mornings was our time. So I love the Super Friends. Oh, that was a great show. The Super Friends. What character did I like the most? I like the Wonder Twin powers. Remember them? It was two people, two twins. Wonder Twin powers activate, and they can be anything. They can transform into anything. Isn't that cool? That's very cool.
Yeah, and you like collaboration too, so that's very, very you. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful. Pick
that
someone.
Big one for me. Let's see, who has not gone? Raise their hand.
Kia has not gone.
Kia.
And Eric.
Eric has not gone. Eric Cruz has not gone.
Eric Cruz. Okay. Well, I already said Kia, so I have to stick to Kia. Hi, Eric.
And Alejandro Calderon. Oh, he went already. Go ahead, Kia.
Thanks, Lorraine. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Kia. From Johannesburg. That's where I live. What do I do? I'm a creative. So I just, generally I'm into anything creative. And I currently work as a graphic designer / multimedia designer at an innovation hub, or a company or a firm that works in innovation. So we build businesses, work on businesses, and I'm currently learning UX UI. So I'm very new to that and learning how to apply creativity to that space. Favorite TV show? There's a lot of TV shows I think that were mentioned. I'm definitely a Trekkie over Star Wars type of guy. Definitely. And the character I think for me in that series would be Data. He was really cool. Ninja Turtles I think for me, and Michelangelo. Because he was like an oddball. So not really, I think the typical everyone else's favorite sort of character. So I think I really like the underdogs sort of thing. So that's why I like Michelangelo. And I think it was really exciting because they just released a graphic novel, which I got like a copy of, The Last Ronin. So he ends up being like the last Ninja Turtle of all of them, and avenging all his brothers and Master Splinter. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Kia. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Eric.
So last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming Eric Cruz to the stage.
Hey everyone. Hey Lorraine, long time no see. I think it's been 25 years since I saw you.
Holy moly.
Isn't that crazy, right? I'm from LA. I'm back in LA after like a 20-year backpack around the world. But I kind of sit between what you would call design, storytelling, innovation, and experience. And I do those things for brands, particularly through advertising. But soon enough, in a month, I'll be doing that for kind of what you might call a big tech startup. And so that's going to be the next stage of my journey. And then in terms of TV shows, I think most of you will not know this. Maybe Patricia might kind of know it in a distant sense. Voltus 5, I think a lot of you Westerners would know that as Voltron. But in Asia, there was a previous iteration of that, particularly from Japan. And it's pretty much a similar sort of thing as Voltron, except this was the OG. And in terms of character, not necessarily from Voltus 5 itself, but I really quite love the Spirited Away or Sento Chihiro no Mask Face, if you guys know that character, because I love the fact that character kind of, starts from innocence to curiosity to connection to rage to destruction, and kind of in many ways kind of mirrors everyone's life. I think goes through a lot of those different stages of self-realization, creation, destruction. And I think I always try to do that for myself. That is me.
Beautiful.
Back to you,
Thank
Jose.
Cruz. Back to me in the studio. Literally, I'm in a studio. Sharing rules. Going to go through this real quick, and we're going to dive in. No advice. We don't give each other advice. Example: you should do it this way. That's bad. Here are a few ways I've done it myself that I can share with you. That's good. Speak from the I. Only share a primary or a secondary experience. I've experienced it this way, or I saw someone experience it this way, and that's it. So now, without further ado, we go into our core Q&A. And my big question is setting the stage for the questions and allowing the questions that are here first in the audience, unless you post them in the questions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the baby in the middle. I'm going to do what our structure is of the questions that we put in the survey, show the questions, and then allow for us to pick either one of the survey questions or a new question. It's like a game show. So question that is in the topic or the topic of this office hours: what challenges have you faced doing UX or UI? The questions that came in: how do you deal with product people who think they always have the solution and want to move forward without validating the problem? They just go gung-ho. It's one question. It's a very good one. No validation. Just keep on building, stuff that we don't know whether it's right or wrong. The second one is, what happens when the CEO is not engaged because he assumes he knows everything? The know-it-all CEO that knows exactly what he wants. The third one: how do you use core to help guide the decision-making for the UX? It's a really good one. And I can show some examples of that potentially, but again, I want our panelists here to answer the questions. I'll be last, or add any insights. Todd, you're also welcome to add any insights. So what questions do you have for our panel of expert friends? Expert friends, like super friends. I like that, of super friends. I'm going to change it to super friends just for Lorraine. How do I get a seat at the strategy table? Whoa. All right. We came out punching. Yeah. How do you get executives to remain engaged and aligned? Good luck with that. The third one: how do you use core to build UX? So that these are similar. They're related. The three questions or the three things. This is related to here. This one is related to here, and this one is related to here. The fourth question that came into the survey was about copy, or around how to make web copy seem more friendly and not too corporate. And I can bring up that question, but we might not have time for that. So I'm gonna take a breath. We're gonna let the vibes come in, music, and Xavier and Lorraine, or anyone here. Number one is what I'm hearing. I'm getting a ditto. So number one is this one. Is this it? Let's do it. All right. The floor is open. Xavier, you go first.
Yeah. One thing that comes, whether you're talking to other executives that have other questions: how do you keep them involved? How do you get your product partners involved and stay engaged and not want to just solutionize or create solutions to problems that don't exist? Is to make sure you're building those deep connections that I talked about earlier. And I'm not talking about just, oh, how are you? What are you doing? Those kind of surface level relationships, but it's deeper. So as designers, we should all have some research in our background, asking open-ended questions, trying to understand their world. What are they going through? What are their expectations? And really trying to put yourself in your product partner's shoes to understand what their world is happening, because you don't know what's going on over there. And they may be told by their bosses that you have 30 days to fix this or do this. And if you imagine when somebody comes to you and says, you have 30 days to design this new experience, and you're like, wait a minute, we have no research, we don't know what the pain points are, we don't know anything, and you're asking me for 30 days, how do you feel? How does that make what's that do to your head? So you have to first understand them, whether this be your developers, your product people, any of your peers. You have to understand their world. Once you do that, you can understand why. Why are they trying to solution without any or very little input? And a lot of times what you'll uncover is they have some pressure coming down on them from something. Or to one of the other questions, they don't even know what you do or the outcomes you can help them achieve. And so they just want you to make the black and white picture pretty, because they think that is your skill, when it most likely isn't, unless you're just a pure production designer. So building those deep connected relationships are the only way you're going to stop eventually. It's not going to happen overnight, but eventually your product people coming to you and saying, design me this, I want this.
Beautiful. Thank you, Xavier. Lorraine, Molina.
That was so well said. There's no way I can top that, but I can speak just from my own experience. I've dealt with many of those types of people in my experience. You see them a lot. Well, my experience, I've seen them in startups where the CEO is just ecstatic and thrilled of their idea. They have a small runway of maybe 2-3 years of funding that they can build XYZ product, usually some sort of app in my case. And their vision is so strong, and they feel like they know all that needs to be known. They go straight to build, and they don't realize the value of design thinking, which can be very challenging. So, and what I have done is from my place as a designer, I will show them. So I'll do it through example, and I'll just do it. I'll just pose. These are just basic research methodologies. If we don't have a researcher, we can start here. So just to get them thinking. Oftentimes, though, they can be very, very stubborn. So at that point, I have to be, egoless and be very open, be very flexible, try to be very collaborative, because when there's friction and there's disagreement, it really dissolves the team and the spirit, and it's just not conducive to anyone. So what I've learned as a designer is to be very malleable. More often than not, the CEO will find himself in that position of, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, because they realize after the fact the value of doing proper research, validation, etc. But at the end of the day, we always have to remember, this is their path, this is their product, this is their money, and in a way, it's their journey. You are there to support them in their journey as best as you can with all of your expertise, but also with it's almost like it's in service and collaboration at the same time. Like you're being paid to do XYZ, so you kind of like bend for them, like, hey, here's what I showed you, but I will happily appease your needs, even though they may not be correct. I've learned that you can't really change them. They only can change themselves through their own path, through their own experience with the product, through their own experience with stakeholders, through their own, experience with their team, et cetera, et cetera. So sometimes you just have to kind of like, just bow and be like, go on your journey. Here's mine, and there's yours, and good luck to you. And I will be here to help you in any way I can. Sometimes it's just ego.
Yeah, it's like children. Like, go experience it yourself. If it works, it does. I'm curious, Eric Cruz, if it's different in advertising, especially when defining campaigns or marketing kind of initiatives. There probably aren't product peeps. It's probably just the CEO or like some of the senior level. I don't know. How does it work in advertising?
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with what Lorraine mentioned in terms of creative people are just egotistical by nature, and they're always trying to sort of, especially in advertising, trying to sort of, stake their claim, put down their own flag, because it's how they progress. And that's true of any organization, right? And through virtue of that fact that, them looking good and them asserting their idea, therefore asserting their voice, is exactly the pathway that they need to follow in order to get to that next stage or next level. But I think in many ways, part of what I loved about that Voltus 5 TV show is that it takes a team to make something happen. And I think for me, the thing I try to teach is always ensure that, everyone has their own expertise, but other people can kind of bring their level of talent, but also their different way of thinking that may be opposed to how you would do something to make something better. And I think at the end of the day, for me, what I believe in is that you are the sum of all your parts in many ways, right? So I always try to, make sure that the team works as a team in order to get to some place that you couldn't take yourself individually. That's my tip.
To go on Eric's comment there about the team is when you get to an enterprise level, yes, you have your design peers that are part of your team. But one thing you have to eventually evolve to is the one team model, where product, strategy, whomever SMEs, if you're designing for a workforce, your peers you're designing for, accessibility, all of those individuals that help you reach the desired outcomes that have been outlined, they are part of the team. And as a leader like myself, yes, I have to coach and mentor the people that report to me, but my obligation is to that one team. My obligation is to lift up that entire one team. And by doing so, my team, the people that report to me also get lifted up. So you have to work, and it takes time to create that one team model where you don't have products sitting over here, development sitting over here, content over here, SMEs someplace else. You have to bring everybody together to work as one team. And once you reach that maturity of your part of the organization, you're going to see successes that you never saw before. And you're not going to have product coming to you and saying, please design this. We want this.
That's so much good stuff that you've all shared. The stuff that I think I want to emphasize that I think is true for anybody, no matter where you sit, because to some degree, like how much of a seat you have at the table, depends on your time, how long you've been building those relationships that Xavier talked about, what you've earned. I mean, I've been in big engagements with, huge global strategy firms as a partner on the engagement with us, and where the partner for that firm has said, we do, and this is like a firm that's known for strategy, right? We do project management to earn a seat at the strategy table, right? And some of that project management stuff is about kind of building those relationships. And then to something that Xavier said that I think just deserves repeating, which again, no matter where you sit, no matter where you are in the organization, how much you've earned or not yet, asking open-ended questions is like this, superpower, and being willing to hear where other people are coming from and what they're telling you about, again, to Xavier's point about understanding your audience, what they're telling you who they are by how you ask and how they answer those open-ended questions. And then to the comment that Lorraine said about being egoless, I would say I just shift that a little bit, just slightly, about it's like a Zen ego, right? It's not having your own point of view, and it's not about not having that, and not wanting to sort of see where that goes, but it's willing to like let that thing take a back seat and let that kind of, person who's engaging people, that part of you that's engaging people with those open-ended questions, and how those questions get informed by that point of view that's sitting in the back seat. How that stuff all serves you. And again, I can't overemphasize that. I think it serves you and serves the project, no matter if you're a individual contributor, a coordinator, a manager, a director, or a more senior executive, right? This is stuff that I think is, like I said, I think are kind of superpowers for you, no matter where you are on a project or an organization.
Yeah, that's a beautiful analysis and summary. So this is like the, WWF analyst, like, here's what happened. Let's give it some more shape. Thank you so much, Todd. So now I'm gonna give and open up an opportunity for anybody in the audience who has a question that might not be in our canon of questions. It could be anything related to core, it could be related to user experience. We're at the 15 to 20 minute mark. As we get to the end of the hour, if you have other things to do, meetings, etc., you are welcome to leave. We'll go till about 20 minutes after 12, and also have our milk and no cookies. What is it? It's not milk and no cookies. Cookies and no, something like that. Music and no cookies. Just an end conversation. Anybody have any questions that are not in this current UX conversation or more unique? Ooh, that's a nice heavy one. All right, our panelists coming in from Eric Cruz, ladies and gentlemen. The question is, how do you feel user experience is evolving in Web3 and the metaverse? Xavier, you go first.
Great question, and I spoke a little bit about this on our last video, if it's been published, about UI and UX. And I think as we move more towards Web3 and the metaverse, strategic thinking, design thinking is going to play an even higher role as we start to automate the production of things we used to hire individual contributors to do. And as we do that, if you think about the environment that people are learning today, schools, colleges, design institutions, online, they're still teaching a lot of production level work and how production is key. We will need people to service those systems that we're creating, those environments that we're creating. But I really believe that automation is going to start to build those environments, because there's no way that us as individuals can truly develop personalized, adaptive experiences in these worlds that people are going to expect to have, or that it needs to have to be successful. Otherwise, it's just going to be like Oculus One.
Beautiful. Lorraine Molina.
That's a tough question to answer, because there's so much that we don't know, and we also do know. I think the most fundamental thing is just, what does it mean to be human? Human behavior, human thinking, because the metaverse is like entering another parallel universe that's completely otherworldly and using XYZ platform device. So I think we are going to go into a space of really going into deep psychology, sociology, politics. I think it's going to open up many new ways of thinking about what experiencing the world means. That's going to open up a huge infinite Pandora's box, because the metaverse can be very infinite. It can be anything. And we're just at the very cusp of it, and even the technology. So, right now I'm designing a crypto wallet. Like, there's so much you can do with just a wallet. We're just at the very beginning tipping point of decentralized finance, but it can go beyond that. So there's so many unknowns, but I think it really boils down to what it means to be human, and how
such a beautiful answer. Yeah, and it is. If you guys stick around, I'm going to show you the creative brief for Consensus when I was doing the website and all the marketing, or like the beginning of that. It's okay, Todd. I'm okay with it. I'm super okay with it. And it's also relevant. So I'm going to dovetail it this way. So somebody asked a question, how do you use core for user experience? And I'm going to share that with you, in addition to addressing this issue for Eric Cruz of the metaverse and of Web3, just for the efficacy of time. So a lot of people ask the question as it relates to how do you do a brief? And the music turned off because I did oh no, it did not. Basic, yeah, still there. How do you do a brief from core after you do all the core exercises? And when I was at Consensus, one of the early things that I did in the first few months that I was there was to do core for that. It was in 17. Everything is an experiment, just setting the expectation. This is an experiment. It's going to be messy. Always setting that expectation. So the brand attributes that were summarized from the session, the people in there were a bunch of both founders, young executives. It was a mix of people. Radically inclusive, seeking, awake, collaboration, transformation, inevitable abundance came out as this thing. So people see Web3 in the metaverse and they see the 3D and VR, etc. None of that it's all the surface of it, but we're heading into a new direction. Another session one day will be, why do I build Burning Man camps? And you'll know the answer because it's related to this. This was the current website they had, which had all the tropes of, Web3 at the time, which was all the interconnected nodes, which I hated. And now I actually get, but at that time, I just didn't understand. So this is the attributes people came up with. Radically inclusive, fluid, spiritual actually came up. Seeking, inclusive, collaborative, awake, feeling awake, expanded, inspired. Transformation is the impact. Transformation. Alvin Toffler, futurist, future shock. The business of the future is transformation, and we're talking about spiritual here. We're not talking about like money or one state to the other. Inevitable abundance became the X factor. This idea that inside sacred geometry, biomimicry, holistic thinking, transcendental. The Ethereum blockchain has a lot of ayahuasca in it, just to be clear, and that's why the music is so awesome. Top attributes, here they are, and they came together. This is how core works. Consensus provides an activation ecosystem for blockchain to those seeking inevitable abundance in a radically inclusive environment, with a collaborative voice helping feel awake and transforming the world in the process. Whether consensus lived up to this or this was the direction, it doesn't really matter. I love the fact that this came out of it. And for me, it became a real important. But this is the most important part in UX. Who were the people we were talking to? The tech middle manager, the high net worth, and the agent. So in just this sequence, you know, Dave Agrawal, he's looking for, you know, he's an IT director. He wants to shift his company to Web3. I'm just going to show you very like, this is the user profile exercise, industry analysis, technical documents. You want to give them a little bit of FOMO, show your credentials. So case studies, that one's highlighted there because I'll show you in a minute how the case studies then become the wireframes, right? And for me, the way wireframes usually work, or architecting a site, you have what the standard models are that are existing by looking at the competition. So you know what sections you need for this type of website. But then you have, how do you fine tune and hone in an experience and a path just for Dave? And then based on the different user profiles, you create an experience through them. And the exercise that, you know, it has a different name in the current version of Core, which we're gonna correct, but it's simply a user story, or, you know, whatever you want to call these. There's many names for it. But how does he find out? He Googled blockchain enterprise. How does he engage? He saw industry analysis on the website. How does he return? He clicked on a link and got a consultation, free consultation, which they did tons of. Email exchange and a white paper and a survey that came back from the sales team at Consensus. He shares a one-page by vertical that summarizes the benefits of the Ethereum blockchain. And then he becomes an advocate because he got so many great insights. And then there's other dynamics. So here's a developer in again, another company, but he's another target, right? Or another person that Consensus wants to reach out to. The non-tech influencer. This person is actually not a technologist. They're more potentially a journalist or a blogger. So I put a wireframe in order to do the stylescapes for this, because you needed something to start off. And I did one, somebody else did one. We had 3 designers work on it. But right here, quick links to, they're case studies in the abstract. These are thought pieces of like, how does farm to table, you know, salmon, like, and they did have these. And if you go look at Consensus's current site, one of the big things is all their Medium publications, several articles, 3 or 4 of them, which I written on decentralization in 2017 and 18. So the other thing that really filters this is their goals. Like, you know, like what are the goals in terms of revenue, in terms of marketing and awareness, and in terms of efficiency. That will determine what you're going to focus on the website for this version, and determines your product backlog. It made it very clear like what the wireframes were going to be, and I did the wireframes for the first version myself. Also, what people love and hate. So this is from all the executives, you know, that were really involved in the website. These are the websites they loved. So when we did comps, you know, we were reflecting what they loved and what they didn't. If they hated something specific, we're not going to make a design that looks like that. So, you know, you got to be really careful. So I'm going to go quickly through this. Then what stylescapes are: education. Lorraine talked about this. Educate the stakeholders. And then I split it up into 3 directions that I chose so that I can show a breadth of what the possibilities are. One is inspired future, which looks similar to what it is, and it's going to jump off a little bit. This is the safe direction, which, by the way, was what we ended up choosing. And it's because they're comfortable with this language. The second direction was a little bit more evolutionary and added a little bit more colors and, like, you know, a little bit things they didn't really like. And in this case, this is just the brief. When I showed the brief, they're like, oh no, we don't like these like African children as images. We want to have it be people, technologists in Africa, like working on stuff. It's not an angle of charity. It's an angle of impact, of like actually doing work with people in Africa. And Africa is super fucking advanced. In blockchain currently, it's surpassing Web 2 because they don't have the infrastructure there. They're just jumping into it. The final one, Inevitable Abundance Tribe, this is the Burning Man version. We said, you know, eventually we all ended up going to Burning Man. That was in 2018, the whole executive team came to Burning Man. And then this was a cool and a very fun one. Like, I love, you can see that I had more references in it because of that, like, you know, working in Africa, now that's really relevant, like co-working spaces, like the future. And then the future of identity and tribes, like how do you actually identify, you know, and then there's always attributes in them. I did this direction because it was this is the stretch. So the first one is safe, the middle one is like, whoop, and the third one is like, whoa. What happens is that they're going to choose probably one of the other two and add a little bit of the other ones, and you can sneak in a little bit of the future direction into it or not. But that's how you do the briefing, and I am complete. And Eric, that should give you a little bit of sense. For me, the blockchain, and it's not about the metaverse, even though it is about the combination of understanding how we create new business models and new use cases. And we are able to understand the financial models, call it token models, which is what it is, and the exchange of value. And we're able not to replicate existing models that we have in the material realm currently, but we're able to create brand new ways of being as humans, that the minute the money is not involved, and the minute that we're just there as a tribe, imagine moving back to the Philippines and living in a little village with your people and your grandma and all the people there, suddenly life becomes a different thing. We're not stuck in the cycle of having to live for the system like we do here in the United States. We can create new systems. That's my interest in the blockchain. And I had a whole conversation with Todd on Thursday about this, or on Wednesday. I'm complete.
Super.
Was that valuable?
That was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Super, super inspiring.
And of course, not really the reality of what consensus has done. See you soon, Eric. Love that you were here. Much love.
I have to drop too, but wonderful talking and sharing. This has been awesome. I need to do this weekly. It's like therapy.
It's every 2 months. It's every 2 weeks. We'll send you an invite. We'll put it on your calendar.
Thank you. Peace out.
Be an honor to have you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. This is it. We can be now like just freestyle.
I had something interesting in the profiles in Web3. They were so adamant about the privacy that I couldn't get demographics and so the measurements, age, stuff like that. I couldn't get them. It was just an avatar, a made up crypto name, and only the other free, like the story, the trends, the challenges, and the solutions, they agreed to. But the part where you bracket people,
like,
yeah.
That, you know, and I would have argued that the reality is that we're doing it to understand the profiles, and we're not violating their identity because these aren't real.
I told them that.
Don't be an asshole. And don't
I
be
told
literal.
them, look, these are inspired by real people. You might know them because they're your community, and you talk, and you know venture capitalists that come from traditional to Web3, and you know them. Like, you know what kind of age, what race, whatever, where they're from, what income they might have. Yeah, I explained. We did a couple like I said, and the couple like they wanted with the, you know, with only the PFP and the crypto name.
Well, also explaining why age and location has specific kind of impacts on the values and on the behavior of a particular user psychographically will help. Now, you can also, instead of using like age, you can use generations, you know, X, you know,
I did that too, yeah.
Millennial.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine with that. You know, you can't like, you know, they say, oh no, you're classifying people and you're like excluding that.
Yes. Yes, I've seen some kind of worry and being adamant about, you know, the identity in Web3 and not being diverse or inclusive enough. Yeah.
I want to do an experiment while we have Xavier here still. Todd and I, when we were meeting we started doing these scenario cards, domain, industry, the level of the executive, personality type, scenario. And I added one, which haven't like added too much detail to, but it's curveball, like what's the weird problem that's happening in the situation. There's cards, which they're on the table behind me, but it's too much work to do a reading this way with people. So the way we're gonna do it is just for fun. I'll pick one person. I'll pick Ioana to go first. And Ioana picks the domain, and I'll insert a little circle just to, vote. Wherever you pick, whatever you pick, I'll drop it in there. And then the next person, you choose somebody to pick the level, and then that person picks somebody to choose industry. Got it? Does that make sense? All right, let's do it. Let's do this experiment like in 5 minutes. So what's gonna happen, here's the output. Whatever the scenario is, this thing in this domain at this level in this industry with this personality of an executive and this scenario, we are going to share a case study that relates to that. I'm going, oh, you know what? That sounds like whatever, this client. That sounds like music.com. All right. So you want to pick a number between 1 and 6, any number.
5.
This is Jose's tarot
5.
reading. 5. Beautiful.
Reveal.
Yeah.
Drum roll reveal.
Okay. Pick someone to pick in this level.
Roberto.
One through 5, a number between 1 to 5. Super easy. 5? Is that what you're saying? We can't hear you, but yeah.
Roberto, I think you're muted or something.
The mic's not working. Beautiful, but thank you. And then pick somebody.
Okay.
Now you can hear.
Sorry, I think my mic was not working fine. I say 5, and what about Alejandro?
I knew you were gonna pick me. Okay, so 1, and I'm gonna choose Todd.
Well, Todd has to. He knows what the 1, 2, 3, 4 are. Actually, he might not because they might be out of order. Just pick one. You're also on mute.
All right, I'll pick 4.
Beautiful. And pick somebody to pick the scenario.
Xavier.
3.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for playing Systm Tarot, coming to a card deck near you. I love it. Boom, I'm just pasting that in there. So this case study is in the finance space, level senior executive, industry, wow, in math, financial, that might make sense. The personality is closed. This person doesn't want to know. This is a no, like very close. They know everything they don't want to deal with. They don't know.
That sounds like finance.
Yeah, that does sound like finance. And it's a new direct-to-consumer e-commerce rollout. So it's like an investment platform or a wallet in Web3. Ooh, this is a horrible one. This is tough. All right, so Xavior, anyone has a case study in their career lives that is in the finance space. They had a senior executive as their stakeholder who was closed, and while they were rolling out an e-commerce platform. Or it could be something else. It could be like a new or existing internal tool.
It's not a new e-commerce rollout, but when I first came to a company and I'm going around doing the interviews and talking to people and having lunch, one executive in finance that happened to be in enterprise security said, all we want your team to do is make our tank look like a Porsche. We want to lock down our website so much that bad actors can never get through. And it's your job to make it look pretty. And I'm like, wow, really? But I had to learn why and had to go through that. About a year later, that individual became our biggest advocate and was out speaking on blockchain, on security in the future, and had a slide in there about working with your design team, working with them on the strategy. And he used a reference of like when you walk into a bank and what you want to know, like you want to be able to have that same level of access when you walk into a teller. Some people on the call may not know what a teller is, but when you walk in and talk to a person in a bank, and how that design and how that experience is, and this individual used that and became our biggest advocate going forward. But it always comes back to me hearing this from an executive: we have a tank and we want you to make it a Porsche.
How'd you make him into an advocate, Xavier?
Brought them along, allowed them to see when we were doing user interviews. We did a lot of quick wins as well. So kind of that earlier conversation, give us this, we want this. Okay, we're going to give you that. So we delivered something in 30 days. And then we brought them along the journey, and we were inclusive of that individual. As Jose knows, I like to go out and find the people who are the most adverse to anything we're doing and bring them in. Because you win them over and you win a lot of the other people over. So it's just being inclusive, getting a quick win in there for them where they feel, oh, this is going to be a great partner to work with.
Yeah. And make it pretty really fast and show them the process.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was the time frame between him becoming an adversary to an advocate? Like, when would you
About a year. It took about a year of this individual being involved. So a year after we delivered that first 30-day effort. And then it took about a year for them to be included. And obviously it's not like a light switch.
Right.
Along that journey, they opened up a little bit more and opened up a little bit more and opened up a little bit more. And when I went to them after that year, I went for research dollars because they didn't have any. And I was able to get not only $100,000 to do research, we were also able to get 4 new bodies, 4 new individual contributors for the team as contractors.
Amazing.
Beautiful. Alejandro, you have a question?
Well, I was going to share a similar case study. It's more about how I was able to sell, with strategy. I was invited to a meeting with my business partner from Mexico, and he said, "Hey, I need you to help me with the design part. So just be in the meeting and ask any questions regarding to design. I'll take the development part," and so on and so forth. So it turns out that this is a bank, is a well-established bank from Mexico that they're releasing a new type of service, like that you can give credits in different, let's say, commerce or retail stores and stuff. And the guy starts talking about the story of, I don't know them. It starts talking about the story of their company. And one of the things that I've been learning is, I'm very logical, or I'm very, pragmatic, and with business sometimes, or with communication sometimes, I have a hard time communicating emotions or understanding emotions, this part. But what I've learned lately is that those two go hand in hand when you're having a conversation with somebody, especially in sales. And so I picked up that they were really interested in telling their story, and I started asking questions. And then, long story short, what I understood is that they had no strategy. They were not proud of their name. They didn't have like a solid naming. They had like no brand identity, like nothing. And so we ended up with the, 4x the amount of the project that we had at the beginning. But I think the reason, and I think that I guess was Todd that was mentioning this, that just asking good questions, it can take you a long way in showing that you are really interested on their business and not just, trying to get their money, and that's it. I complete.
It's a very good tip. Very good tip. So let's upload, since we're in a good place for it. That was really beautiful, Alejandro. That was very beautiful, Xavier. And I'm super excited about developing these cards. This is the algorithm for how we do case studies and how we do stories. It's beautiful. What I got out of today that was super valuable, really listening to the points of view from Xavier to Eric Cruz to Lorraine, it was interesting to see what throughputs the individuals actually focused on relative to who they are. I loved having Todd as producer giving me notes and me mixing things, live to make the broadcast more efficient. I love seeing everyone, again. I love who every single individual is here and what they represent. So I'm very grateful for that. And I will pick Iwana.
Thank you. I love the idea of the one team model, meaning everyone has a seat at the table. So everyone is gonna understand what each part, because it's like the biggest discussion kind of encapsulates the one team. The tech peeps are gonna understand the product team and the strategies and the creative and the founders and everyone, because they are sitting at the same table and everything happens at the same time in a collaborative environment. So that's what I love, the one team model. And I would love to hear from Xavier.
Thank you. And again, thank you for having me on the call. I think one of the reasons why I love joining these discussions as a participant and then as somebody who's speaking is the diversity of thought that is here. If you just look around at where everyone lives right now, where they're coming from, all of us have different environments that have helped shape us, that have given us the mindsets that we have. And by being part of this, it brings nuggets of information and nuggets of perspectives that you may otherwise not experience. So that's the nugget I always get from being involved in any of Jose's sessions.
It's beautiful.
And I do have to drop to catch a flight and get 2 children.
Go get on your plane. See you. I'll pick someone for you.
Xavier, thanks so much for joining.
It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Xavier.
Okay, Roberto Puente, you go next.
Thank you. I think my mic is working now. Okay, I love that we are back and we're having this meeting. I miss every Friday having this. And I learned to ask more questions and to listen. I think that's my drop. What about gender?
Thanks, Roberto. This is really brilliant. Hearing everyone's stories and perspectives, and it comes down to collaboration and just having good empathy skills, and also bringing the voice of your customers in, and that can be like being a good way to be neutral. So that's like the driving force, because sometimes you find that the voice of the customer isn't there. So the research is really vital, and the design thinking is really good as well. And just thinking about like if you guys have time to do show and tells as well, within your corporations.
It's a really good suggestion. I love doing those. I call them lunch and learns, and I embed them into any project that I'm doing, and invite, just like doing this, right? I was doing a project and I asked the executives there if I could mail the entire company, and anybody in the company could come to the lunch and learns about the topic. And agile, CPG was one of the topics. Anyway, thank you, Ginger. So good to see you.
No problem, because that's what we did at Canon, was just like reinforce the design thinking, have a user test session, show and tell. So that kind of helps bridge the gap if there is any.
The gap, yeah. I broadcast the user testing to the entire company. I sent out the link to a live Zoom, and they could watch people doing, using the product. I love it. All right, pick someone.
Kia.
Really great to have you here, Kia, all the way from South Africa.
Guys, we're glad to be here. Thanks, Linda. It was really awesome, I think, to listen. A lot of the questions that I had in my head were kind of asked already for me, so that was really cool. Just from today, thank you for that. I think it was a really good, really insightful stuff. I enjoyed when you went through like the whole brief, because I've been following a lot of like your stuff on like Jose, your guys' stuff on like YouTube. So I think the brief was really cool, sort of understanding that and how to apply it to like, okay, now I'm going to give you guys a report, and how do we then implement that into like real world, or manifest that in the real world. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, all around, I think a really good experience. I'm very thankful for this. And I will nominate Todd.
Thank you. Sure. I was really struck by stuff that both Lorraine and Xavier said about ego and about the long-term view on this. Thank you. About the long-term view. I mean, when Xavier says, hey, it took him a year to convert that guy who was an adversary into an advocate. We're so programmed as humans to like, what's a quick fix? What's a quick fix? And what's a quick fix? We're also so programmed so often, I think, to like have to, I don't know if it's a sports thing or whatever it is, that it's like, you got to win the conversation, got to win this, got to win that, got to win that, as opposed to like, well, it's not a win or a lose. These are all steps along the way towards a goal, and one or all of them or many of them may feel more like a win or not, but they're just part of the path to arriving at like that incredible, change of an adversary into an advocate. So like the ability to ask these open-ended questions, to have that ego in the back seat, and to take the long-term view while getting wins along the way. So
beautiful. It's like Mortal Kombat. You're gonna take some blows. You're gonna like, and then you're gonna try to like get the big ones, and like, bam, and then you get the big one. Well, that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Pick someone.
Oh, sorry. Who we got? Pat.
Patricia, are you there?
I think she's working.
Oh, probably.
She might be back on the saddle, and we don't have that many people left. Kia went, Jinder went, Iwana went, Alejandro went.
Alejandro.
I went. Yeah, Alejandro went. Oh no, Alejandro, did you go like with your upload?
Not yet.
You got out of this? Okay, go for it.
Okay, thank you. Well, one of the things that I really got me thinking was that question of, how UX is going to be related to, Web3 and all this. But I took it more of how UX is going to play a role in the future, let's say about 20 years, because nowadays it's not only Web3 that is kind of modeling the future, but also automations and all these other things, AI. And so I think that my idea is of the way I see the future is that automations and robots and all these other things are going to remove so much of the repetitive work that we're just going to be left with the essentials, and it's kind of going back to the roots. And so the roots for me looks like community, like this tribe. And so honestly, I think that I appreciate a lot Jose modeling community and co-creation with meetings such as today.
My pleasure. Thank you for acknowledging that. That is my gift. Thank you everyone for being here today. Let's take the survey. If you're a UX designer, I know Jinder, you probably took it already. If by any chance there's someone here who hasn't taken it, that would be awesome. Share it with friends. We're beginning to build Go ahead. You wanna?
If you fill it out more times, do you get every version of me
No,
filling it
you don't.
out?
Please don't fill out a few times. I already saw yours. Thank you. That's amazing. I want to figure out a way to summarize what the system is doing, and I want to figure out a better way to do ads for Core Discovery. Maybe we do an insert of a video here. Of course, all of this is brought to you.
I
by
want
Core
to show you
Discovery.
something, Jose, by the way, related to Core.
Okay, do it.
Yeah.
Share on social media. My account got hacked, so it's kind of a problem, but I'm working on it, and hopefully soon it'll be out. But the good news is that I'm using the We're the System account, so that's great. Like or subscribe.
You are not alone. Hacked accounts.
Oh, yeah. People
I need
get
to link the accounts. I need to unlink those two accounts for that.
I heard a lot of people get hacked and their account gets turned into a shilling account for Web3 stuff like crypto and NFTs and stuff.
Exactly. That's the way it happened. So now music and no cookies. We are done.
Hey, Jose, can I throw one quick thing out?
Yeah, anything.
We're
doing music and no cookies.
I was thinking, because there are a bunch of other, well, maybe 3-4 other questions about the topic that we touch in certain ways, but not necessarily got the core of it. What if we created another room on Discord for like continuing the conversation from?
We need to reorganize the Discord 100%, like to completely.
After party, like an after.
Yeah, definitely.
Fireside chat kind of thing.
Office hours after party. Love that.
Yeah. Do we have that a bot that records those calls?
Office hours after hours.
Fireside chat, whatever it is. Design therapy.
We'll implement that, Todd. But also, one thing we could do is do content for those, like answer the questions, like ask Lorraine to do a little quick video.
AMA, yeah.
But that's a really great suggestion. Fridays is Core after hours. Core, it's a party. Every Friday, we throw the best party on the web.
But let's make sure we get a bot that records it, because we might unwillingly be creating content, and that's one of the ways you could get more eyes on Core.
This music is lit. I'm getting indigenous.
I like it.
The mothership is coming.
Who's it?
This is, let's actually,
it has some,
I gotta say, I heard one of these tracks in one of Keone's mixes, and what I do is then I kind of dig deeper. And it's called Duat, Trippin' Jaguar. So let's see what that guy is. Oops. Arecibo. So these guys are Puerto Rican. Oh yeah. There's a lot of interesting music coming out of Puerto Rico right now.
Yeah. I was talking to a dev, like a Gen X dev, and he said something interesting that challenged the mainstream point of view between, like these distinctions of Web 2, Web 3. He said there's no distinction. It's just another evolution of the internet and technology. Because he was mad about it, because we like to put figs into neatly tied boxes.
Into labels, yeah.
Yeah, when what it is, it's like another cycle and another evolution of the internet and community and identity and culture.
Exactly. I mean, people need to classify boxes for the search engines and for the news cycle.
Yes.
And that's always going to be the case in history. It's always done in the retrospective in hindsight, but then it takes on the form of its new classification, moves into the future with that classification. But it is and it isn't, right? Like it's a very Buddhist thing. You have to detach. There's no absolute there. I think you can't be attached to the metaverse as like just the VR experience of walking around at a virtual Burning Man. I think the metaverse is there obviously as part of that, but there's bigger implications, I think, for Web3 are in the community culture aspect and in the shift away from, you know, how we do identity and how we do transparency and how we identify ourselves. So it's a very interesting thing, and you know, we're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of the portal jump, like in Star Trek when you're doing the tunnel with the hyperdrive. We're right there.
I found it refreshing because it was a dev working in the Web3 space that said it.
Yeah, stop trying to label everything.
Yes.
It's non-denominational.
What was it? What kind of stuff was he working on?
So a lot of Web3 dApps for, you know, the websites, the Discord, the bounty systems. Yeah, there's like, I got into Bankless, and there's the very good people. They kind of work within the smaller DAOs from Bankless. So this guy is in a venture capitalist DAO and in an emerge DAO and in Bankless consulting. Yeah. It's interesting.
I call it hummingbird capitalism, or hummingbird. Yeah, you work for what you want. You go a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here. It's awesome. It's like
I love
ADD.
that concept, hummingbird capitalism.
Hummingbird. Yeah, we just coined it here today.
I love that. You know why? Because I have a tough time, because you need like up till now, until, you know, the new wave of thinking, people tell you to position yourself, but I find it harder and harder precisely because of this, because we can work, you know, in a merge DAO or a venture capitalist or an educational project, whatever it is, you know, because we have the foundations, you know, the strategy, the design thinking. So it's hard to position.
Yeah,
I
think
agree.
position. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah. What do you agree with?
Well, thanks, Jose. No, I was saying I agree with Luana about
it's Iwana.
Iwana. Oh, sorry about that.
Thank you. No worries.
So I was saying I agree because I think I also find it quite hard. So hence why introducing myself as a creative. You know, I find like I'll dabble in photography because I feel like that's where the need to express is at. And then go do art while doing graphic design at the same time, you know? So how do you really like classify that stuff when you kind of exist in all these spaces? Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
And I don't have like a love or a passion for one in particular. Like there's kind of a few, but I can't say like that I don't love one aspect of this particular project or of this particular people I've worked with. So it's becoming harder and harder. And I kept thinking like, oh, at least by the time I'm 40, I will finally get an opportunity to position or have the clarity. But what I'm finding is that the positioning doesn't necessarily work for everyone.
You also, I mean, one thing that strikes me is you can't have Web3 without Web 1 and 2.
Yes, exactly. Like what was before. And I was actually reading because someone brought up the questions, what do you do in Web3? And the more articles I read or information I hear is just an adaptation. Basically, you adapt to what was before to what it needs to be now. The foundation is kind of the same.
It's a great remix. It's a great remix. If you look at culture, you go to Bushwick, it's the bones of the 20th century. You're living in an industrial building that used to be a fabric, you know, looming place for whatever. And you're doing music, you're doing kombucha, and you're doing like, you know, graphic design. Oh, and art on the side. And then, you know, people prescribe you Adderall because that means you're doing way too many things. But at the end of the day, that's a return to humanity. If you look at the most creators, the people who shaped humanity or who shape humanity, they're never one thing. They're always polymaths. Yes. The one gift that they have is collaboration. Steve Jobs was like a polymath from, you know, innovation, technology, design, etc. What he did well was drive the narrative to a direction. So go ahead, Todd.
We can. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to one quick. We keep trying to position ourselves for the past 3 years, and I'm seeing more and more that it's for us. That's not what it is about. And about that, so like you were saying, to be like a Renaissance person, you have to bridge that age gap. So whatever you do, you gotta understand your generation, the one before you, and the one that's coming next.
So a couple of things struck me. One of them was that Jose and I were, when we were meeting on Wednesday, we were talking about applying core in a flow versus applying it as working sessions. Like, you know, you just talked about one perfect example you wanted, because you're talking about profiles, right? Talking about knowing your audience, and that having the command of all the things in the core discovery toolbox, and that, yes, sometimes you are going to want or get the opportunity to be able to say, hey, we're driving through all of these things, and it's gonna be a series of meetings, it's gonna be 5 weeks or 2 weeks or a week or whatever, you know, and we're gonna do it really intensively. And sometimes it's gonna be like, no, we gotta focus on like this one thing in this moment. And we don't even need to call it, we don't even dress it up. We just say, hey, who's our audience? Or like, what problem are we solving? You know, or hey, has what we understand to be our business model changed? Or my understanding of what the business model changed, you know, and that any of those things in like having that command of them in the flow is really valuable.
It's like it's like the navigator. The navigator in One Piece is the one who follows the money and the heart. She's both love and money. That's really interesting. The world and all the mysteries of all our philosophies and system can be viewed on One Piece. That tells you this whole story. Yeah. Anyway, love you guys. We are right at the perfect timing. So much love. I leave you with a message that the thing that I got from this burn at the end of the day, what happens perfectly. There's only one answer, and that is love above all. And more importantly, love yourself, who you are. You're special, you're unique. It doesn't matter that you've made mistakes. It doesn't matter that, you know, you're going to make some more mistakes. It doesn't matter that you're not positioned correctly. It doesn't matter what has failed and what has succeeded. You know, fuck your burn. Like, it's not about like, you know, our physical manifestation. It's about being who we are. I've been uncomfortable about cursing on these broadcasts, and you know what? I don't care. And I'm not gonna do it in excess, and we might have to bleep them out when you do it, but I don't care. Like, the one lesson is, at the end of the day, if we're pirates and we're building something, you have to build and develop that idea that if you're thinking about what other people think and pleasing other people and doing all this, you're never gonna get anywhere. Look at Luffy, he just goes, ah, I wanna go that way. And he just like, ah, and then everybody else is like, ah, and they're trying. And that power is our power to let go of, you know, looking good, of, you know, pleasing people. At the same time, with gentleness and with that, like, you know, what I call gentle feminine energy. It's the deer card and the spirited animal card. You can have the masculine, and as someone told me at the bar across the street, which was called Boots, and it was, I can't repeat the name. It's not PG-13. It's PG-4. It's R-rated. It was a play on the cat with boots. The bartender was a Capricorn. I'm like, you know, his plan name was something like Bubbles. And I said, you know, and he was talking about willpower, like how he gets his stuff done. He runs companies in the real world. And I said, you should have your plan name be willpower. And he goes, no, man, that's hidden. I deploy it, you know, uniquely to different people, you know, but I'm Bubbles, you know, I'm like happy and go lucky. That was the biggest management lesson that I got from that guy. I don't think it was Bubbles. It was something Bubbles. So love you. And I don't let you go. I'll see you again next week at the same time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Bye for now.
Everyone have a great weekend.
Same.